I'm Joshua, and I'm an INTP. And first and foremost, I would like to say thank you for viewing this video. As you can notice, I'm smiling quite widely because I have been on a very long hiatus because of technical difficulties, and I finally sorted those things out so that I have the opportunity to restart making videos once again. So without further ado, I would like to jump right into this video and say that this video is on INFJs. And the first thing I would like to start with saying is that INFJs are an existence that is qualitatively based. Qualitative means that meaning precedes the facts or the objective nature of reality. They have a tendency of patternization that looks for structures of feeling or emotive qualities that present existential properties to them so that they can see a salience to the connectivity between themselves and the outside world. INFJ's dominant function is introverted intuition, so they are passive, multimodal individuals. They have a passive quality to them, as in they do not try to directly interact with their environment to produce any phenomenon or results in it that would determine what they can see as meaning. Meaning that INFJs don't have a problem with being in the environment, but they wait for the environment to tell them things, as they have the tendency to pull out strands and bits of data of objective factors to try and cull them together for insights of qualitative factors. They want to come to understandings and conclusions about reality because they have a need to establish strands of meaning between the self and its relation to all other things in the world. INFJs have extroverted feeling, so they have this idea of a totalitarian nature or monism to people in reality, where it's the connective agencies that give meaning to them. Meaning can be looked at as strands of connectivity for them, how they are centered but then reach out to other things, and how other things come back and affect them. For the INFJ has extroverted sensing, so they have a tendency to have a sort of dichotomous and contentious relationship inside their psyche between a pluralism, a consistent changing phenomenal factor out in reality. They are empiricists by way of their extroverted sensation, and they find that the things that they want must be instantiated out in reality for it to make sense to them, as they'll try to pick up causal relationships between the events case by case and bring them together over time, but they find that extroverted sensing leads to this pluralism that negates meaning to things. Their main center and focus is meaning, like the INFP, but the meaning that they want is to be connected. The INFP's meaning is derived from the self. The INFJ's meaning is derived from the self's connectivity to the world. The self in its relation to the world is the INFP. The world in its relation to the self is the INFJ. So their extroverted sensing sort of puts them out in the sea of pluralism. It shows them a world filled with chaos, change, and transformation. So their dominant function exists as sort of an island to buoy them in the washing of the sea of chaos, of the pluralism, of the empirical natures of reality. Because there is the saying of Greek philosophers that you can never walk in the same river twice. Well, it's so true that you can't walk in the same river twice because it's always moving, but the INFJ takes it a step farther and says, well, if you can't walk in the same river twice, then you can't walk in the same river once. So what's the point of walking in the river? How can you know it is a river? How do you know what it is, what it means, or anything like that? So they have this nature to them to create a monism, but they want to escape from this monism by way of introverted thinking. Introverted thinking wants to make everything one, makes it universal and necessary, and that sends itself up to the totalitarian and egalitarian nature of extroverted feeling, but they know that this is somewhat of a nihilism of just a black hole of nothingness. Because if everything's one, which they fundamentally believe in a certain way, then nothing can be spoken of. And because they are the intuitive type that has communication at the core of their nature, a world where communication cannot happen is a hell to them. They find it as hell. Though they don't speak to many people while they're out, they love dialogue, and they have internal dialogue consistently going on, and it is this mode of communicative being that they exist as. They're trying to escape this. They have a dualism because they're bringing together pluralism in the world and its chaotic nature, and monism in the self, and bringing it under a matrix of introverted intuition that is a passive agency, but is an agency that is concerned with the metaphysical and epistemological, ontological nature of reality. They're using the tendency to be metaphysicians to bring an antidote to the crisis of meaning that can come with monism and pluralism, with the tendency to go all the way to the extreme of singularity, or the tendency to go to the extreme of complete relativism. You find the harmony and the blend of those things coming together in one in the INFJ, because they are one of the rare types that is qualitative in nature, but has an ardent, rational center in them that is trying to come to logical ordering and understanding of reality and things. And so the INFJ ultimately is a metaphysician. They're a metaphysician. They're saying what is, and they're a metaphysician that is an phenomenological empiricist. They care about being in itself in the world and how it continually finds itself integrating into communities, because they're the types that think that people need to work together. People need to work together, and the meaning and salience of meaning comes by way of relation and communication. It is what the INFJ says to others that's communicated through action, that's communicated through thought, that they innately know and believe to be the antidote to human woe and suffering. The INFJ thinks that if we can come together and learn to reason with one another and speak to one another, we can find the capacity to be kind insofar as we continue the proliferation and the involvement of mankind in its search for meaning, because that's at the basis of their nature. If we can figure out how to better speak to one another and to reason about things, we can come to greater ethical and wiser decisions. Those decisions, them being dominant, introverted, intuitive types, are supposed to be there to most influence the future so that there can be a future to be had. Because the INFJ sees a reality of that is rich with meaning, but is right next to the thrones of nihilism. They see, it's a lot like the INFP. The INFP is in the search for nihilism in the way that it can show up and the stultification of things, but the INFJ is looking for how it can show up in the mishandling of the existence of something, what something is. Mishandling it and misunderstanding the categories that it fits with will lead to a downfall in the pragmatic sense and scope of your activities as a person. No one likes to see the works of their hands fall into ruin. And if you cannot see how to best categorize something, you will not realize the corruption that's in your thoughts and your actions that may lead to the corruption in the world. They're ethical by nature. And then they're also looking to see in that and in this that if you can figure out what something is, you should also be able to figure out how it best fits with others. And you need to understand how to talk and to fit with others, because we need one another. And the INFJ, we need each other because there is an ethos or a community of humanity that lives in them. They're the type that sees all in all in people. They will be able to find, like the ENFJ, a good in everything, a good in everyone, because they have this didact of the white paisley with a black dot going on in them, and white paisley with a black dot, because they're prone to transient experiences. Their minds go through a phenomenon which is known in neuroscience, more frequently, which is known in neuroscience, called transient hypofrontality. It's a downregulation of the frontal region, and it's a hyper or a greater leaning towards subconscious experience. The INFJ can see the good and see all the strange relations in nature within people and things, because they're receiving so much information and feedback from the subconscious mechanisms that are at work in their minds. And the INFJ is somebody who is consistently being washed over with existential properties, so that they're coming to these understandings about reality, others, and the world, and they're making their dictums, their gospels, their ideologies, their philosophies, their decisions, conclusions, and judgments about things, for they wish to be for some cause and affect some change. They are for man, and the meaning that they pull out from the world is by way of their connectivity to things. They are for mankind because they're intimately connected to mankind. They feel your struggle. Your struggle is their burden. They assume by way of the feeling tones and the harmonies within an environment what's needed and what's necessary, and they go out to supply that need and that want. In the INFJ, there is this constant battle between the monism and the pluralism that's won over with this dualism by way of their revelations and their connectivity to meaning out in the strands of relationships that are in the world to themselves. And they need to take and try and create a utopia or a Eden. They're trying to bring forth in a metaphysical sense the salvation for mankind. If they could, they would alleviate any pain, deficiency in reasoning, any sort of ailment, and any sort of infirmity or suffering. If they could eradicate all of the different things that plague man and bring us down, the things that plague people and bring suffering to this world, either by our own choices and devices, or the things that are irreconcilable and irreducible in nature. The INFJ is trying to be a shining light and beacon to show others how to overcome and receive meaning. They want to wash the world over in meaning because they believe that mankind is best when people are actualized and with one another, working towards a common goal underneath a singular order of magnitude, as if they don't believe that the world is one, or if they don't believe all things are one, which is something you find in a lot of INFJs. They, at the very least, believe that there is a connectivity to all things. There's some differentiation, but there's a connectivity to all things. And they want to preserve this, because this connectivity is all that they feel. It's all that they are. They derive so much meaning from their interactions with people if they're good ones, even if they're negative ones. They just get so much meaning from being connected to things, from being out in the world, from experiencing things, from experiencing other people. They find this world, this life, and the connectivity to other people to be the sacredity of things. It would be an INFJ such as Carl Jung who would come up with the idea of the collective unconscious, that there is this overall pervading mind or ethos in all organisms that brings about these complexes of structure and existence that we need and use, that persist to this day in the actions and psyche of others. And that is the INFJ. They are the saintly individual that is trying to bring about a salvation through a metaphysical sojourning through this life. They're transient in nature because they feel as if they're passengers in some respects, as if they're a part of this world but connected to something wholly other, because there's this connectivity and dualism that they see to everything in this world, that they're intimately communicating with, that they see and they know, and they want to show you, they want you to see, they want you to know. They're the communicative type, so they want to bring the gospel or the light to man, and that's just their mission. Their meta goal is to see the greatest good that they can see for all of the world. Whether that's in a small sense in their local communities with their friends, they want to see the greatest good. And that's what they're vigilantly searching for and after. They're trying to, I would say, build up and engineer this thing even if they have to. It's why you would have... And in this task, they face a lot of disappointment. They are susceptible to many negative emotions, too much scrutiny and misunderstanding from other people in some respects. It's why you even have an allegory such as a cave by an INFJ like Plato, because if all you want to do is to heal the infirmities of the world that can come by way of the errors in one's reasoning, by the way in the errors of one's communication, by way of the errors in one's ethics and morality and nature. If that's how you want to heal the infirmities of the world, and you think that you have something for others that will benefit them, yet they reject it and they reject you, it can be a hard life. And that's how it is for a lot of INFJs, and they're quite complicated and difficult creatures to understand. But ultimately, at the end of the day, the INFJ is a metaphysician that is a humanist to the core, that finds their meaning in life and their relation and their connectivity to others and the world, and they want to heal things. They want to very much heal whatever suffering and infirmities that are in the world, because they like the greatest good, which is something like an equilibrated state. It's where everyone is fulfilled and working together towards some end and some goal, to where the least amount of energy is used, the least amount of angst, effort, and anxiety is in a situation to where people can communicate beautifully, yet perfectly and effectively. They're always trying to search for the perfect word, the perfect way to show something or demonstrate something to someone, because in their minds and in their souls, they are their brother's keeper. They are here to keep mankind together. They are here to watch the world and help it to a better place. And that's ultimately what they pain themselves with. And hopefully that's been fair. And I know it was somewhat short in comparison to the others, but that's my video on INFJs, and it's been a rather long hiatus, and you can let me know what you think, and if I need to redo the video, I certainly will, but INFJs, certainly, like the INFPs, have become honestly one of my favorite types, so I was quite pleased in making this video, so you can let me know what you think. Thank you for watching.